see here. I have so much to share with you all today. And most importantly, I want to let you know I talk very fast. So I am trying really hard to bring it down a notch, but I will share my slides with you so that you don't have to worry. There's some slides that have a lot of information on them, and I don't want anybody worried about missing anything. So we have a lot to cover in the next hour. We may run over a little bit. And that is perfectly okay with me. But let's get into marketing fundamentals. I used to call this the Smash Your Book launch, but I've somewhat had a little bit of a change in theory around this. There's a lot of people that can do some great things after their launch, and I just want to talk about marketing fundamentals overall. And I call it fun because I think marketing is a lot of fun and can be. Now, there's some things that are not fun about marketing. A lot of the establishment and the base work can be a challenge to get started, but our goal is to get you to a place where you are indeed having a good time with your marketing. For those of you who don't know me yet, maybe you saw a post about this on social media and are brand new. My name is Alexa Bigwarfe. I am the founder and CEO of Write, Publish, Sell, which is our company to help authors through the process of, you may guess, writing, publishing, and selling books. I'm also the host of the Women in Publishing Summit. I am a publisher, so this brings a unique element to what we're doing as well. I have two publishing houses. We have our children's book company, which is Purple Butterfly Press, and then Cat Biggie Press is a hybrid press that focuses more on grief, loss, healing, transformation, inspiration, hope, and female entrepreneurship books, because those go really well together. Now, I'm kidding. When I started out, a lot of the communities that I was in, I was with a lot of female entrepreneurs, and I had the joy and pleasure of helping launch many books through that genre as well. I'm a publishing and book marketing consultant, and I love more than anything helping people find solutions to the problems that they're having with all the things that come along with self-publishing and marketing books. Or hybrid publishing. And sometimes we even work with folks who are going down the traditional route. Just one quick reminder, if you're here live and you have questions, if you could utilize the Q&A box, that way I don't miss anything when we get to the Q&A time. I also have a podcast. If you're not listening to the Publish Her podcast, I tried to get a little creative there. Here's a lesson in branding. Don't spell something weird if you want people to follow it, because I thought I was being really creative by coming up with the Publish Her podcast, and I made it one word with two H's, and it's a nightmare. But please follow that. It's a great show, and we cover the whole gamut of topics, and it's really great. But I love helping people market their books. I think it's fun and exciting. I am an entrepreneur by nature. I think there are so many cool things that we can do, and the world is just, it's your oyster, as the saying goes. There's so many opportunities for growing businesses around books, for creating additional income through book royalties and all of the things. And when I started my company years ago, it was because I had three very small children, and I didn't want to go back out into the workforce and be away from them all the time. So I wanted to find a way that I could use something that I loved very much, which was writing, to generate a sustainable income for me to stay at home and be a part of their lives. And they grow up so fast. They are now all three teenagers and want nothing to do with me, but that's a whole nother story. You know how teenagers are. It's all about friends. All right, so these are my companies, just so that you see where we're coming from. Chrysalis Press is a traditional press. We don't really talk about it a lot because we're not really marketing or doing a whole lot with that, but I wanted to get my foot in the door of seeing what the world of traditional publishing was like. It's quite challenging without a big backlist, but we're not here to talk about that today. We are here to talk about marketing. Now, I want to know, when you think about marketing, how do you feel? Not what do you think, but how do you feel about marketing? I'm going to open up the chat box so I can see some of your responses here. Is it scary? Crappy? Okay, that's one way. Overwhelming, so confusing. Ugh, curious. Love it. Yay, there's my person. No fun. Oh my goodness, dread it. Scary, but getting better. I'm an introvert. We're all introverts a little bit, I would say. Inadequate. Love it. Can be fun, but challenging. Afraid. Okay, all right. I hope by the end of this presentation, if nothing else, you don't feel scared, that you walk away with some tools that can help you and really, give you some ideas on things that maybe won't be so scary to you. But what I want to tell you, this may be how a lot of us feel. It's how I feel some days. Marketing is hard. It is hard, but in some respects, but y'all, it can be so much fun, especially when you just remove the marketing word and talk about building relationships, connecting with your readers, having a great time, getting your book out. Now, let me tell you, if you've already published, you can agree with me on this one. It's one of the best feelings in the world. It's one of the best feelings in the world when you release that book. So bundling up that energy and sharing that excitement with your readers and getting good feedback from readers, it's a high that is just, I mean, will make you fly. So it can be such a great time. Okay. But marketing, like anything else, requires thought. It requires planning. It requires a strategy. It requires a budget, and it requires time. So you want to make sure that you are putting all of these things into some sort of container that makes sense, that allows you to do it in a manageable way. And you do too many things, especially out of order. This is my quote every single year. It's so true. You end up stressed, exhausted, having inconsistent results, feeling scared, feeling yucky, feeling burnt out, all of those things. So let's take that piece out of it and let's focus on the fun. What we're covering, the fundamentals of marketing from my view as a publisher, as an author, and as a book marketing expert. When marketing starts, this is probably beyond how do I find an editor and how do I self-publish a book? When do I start marketing? Top 3 questions. And I'm going to show you that it probably starts way before a lot of you are thinking that it starts. Types of launches. How you're going to launch your book is the biggest component on what kind of marketing you need to do and when you start and all those other things. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through the different types of launches. And then we're going to get into the meat of it. We're going to talk strategy, and I'm going to talk strategy through showing you case studies, because I can talk to you all day long, all day, really, probably all month, all year. In fact, where I'm going to be talking to you about Book Launch in a Box, which is our 6-month program, where I'm going to be talking to people for 6 months about marketing. There's a lot to share, but I think you'll learn most by seeing what has worked for other authors. And so I love sharing and featuring some of our authors from our publishing houses and our community members from our Book Launch in a Box program. Let's get into it. Book marketing fundamentals. These are the things we're talking about today. This is a lot to talk about, and we could drill down into each of these things for a long, long time. So I am giving you a broad stroke here because we just can't get into it. I will try to answer as many questions as I can at the end of the presentation, but bear with me here. Buckle your seatbelts. We're about to launch. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about the type of launch. Your reader is the most important person in the world, and your reader means all readers who want your book, your genre. You must spend time figuring that out so that we can make sure that you are positioning your book in the right place. And we'll talk a little bit about positioning and how you find them. And once you crack this nut, marketing becomes a whole lot easier. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of ways to get in front of them, which we won't have time to go in for it all into today, but you're going to see some of our most common strategies. Strategy, your budget, your timeline, the activities. We're going to talk a little bit about timeline. Budget varies tremendously. So we're not going to go too much into that, but beyond saying you must have a budget, you need to spend, you need to invest a little bit. Imagine if you were opening up a coffee shop. You would learn how to market. You would learn that you need to do maybe some ads, maybe some postcards that you mail out to the neighborhood with a coupon code, or maybe whatever it is that you need to do to market. You've got to market a business. And as an author or a publisher or professional in the industry around books, you must be marketing and sometimes advertising your business if you want people to know that you have a product that you're selling. So think about a budget and make sure that you're not trying to go in this. You can bootstrap, but results are not always as great. And then the activities that you're going to do, how to engage with readers, and creating an ongoing plan. Marketing does not stop at book launch. Just because your book is in the world does not mean you get to stop talking about it. In fact, you need to ramp it on up. So when you're thinking about your energy and your timeline and all the things happening, give yourself a little bit of a break, especially if you do a ginormous big launch, a day or two off, but be ready to jump right back in again and keep on going. And to make this less stressful, it's all about taking consistent actions over time. We have done launches in a very short window, and Raywin, my team member who's with me today, can collaborate. Well, what word am I looking for? Can also tell you that if you try to do a whole bunch of stuff within a couple weeks or even a month, it is so stressful. It's not fun at all. Marketing that way is not fun. But when you're taking consistent actions, attest yes. When you're taking consistent actions over time, it's not as much. Just like if you want to do anything that takes time, you don't run a marathon by getting up one day and going out and running 26.2 miles. Heck no, I've run a marathon. I will never run another one. Well, I guess we should never say never, but I started by walking 5-10 minutes and then running for 5 minutes and walking for 5 minutes. I started slowly, I built up, and lo and behold, after months and months and months of training, I crossed that finish line with my 56-year-old mother who was killing me actually in her timeline. She dragged me across that finish line, but I did it. Consistent actions build up those muscles. And also, if you have a related business or you're going to be publishing more books, these are going to help you get there. Okay. Don't panic about all of this stuff. Again, I will send you my slides, but this is our 6 stages of production and launch. We did a phenomenal webinar going through each one of these stages in detail, which is also on our YouTube channel. But I show this to you because it's kind of a winding road, a lot of stuff. It would actually, in my mind, look more like a bowl of spaghetti than a nice road. But sometimes there's things happening when other things are happening and going on all over the place, etc., etc. But really, you can start way back here, even way back here, even way over to the left of the slide, thinking about your reader, how you're going to get in front of them, who's going to, how you're going to get your book to people and talking about people and creating buzz and all of those things. And the earlier you start that process, the easier it'll be. But really, once you get into the production of the book, by that point in time, you should have started telling people about it, telling people if you're looking for advanced readers and all of that, so that when you have your PDF file of your book, you can start sharing with people. Then when you get into the publication and distribution piece right here, you are full on board with marketing and you're just going to keep building and building and building. And whoop, then I feel like this is a Candyland board. Get into that launch time where it is just all about creating noise, etc., etc. And then what's happening after launch. Good point, EM. And somebody in our WIP school Q&A session, Trisha asked me earlier, how launchy does a launch have to be? Not everybody's going to do all of these things. Not everybody's going to start at the beginning and move on through. And that's why knowing what type of launch you're doing is also critical because it will guide how much of this you want to do. The reality is, yes, we want to write. We want nothing more to do than writing books. And it is hard to pull ourselves away from the writing process to do these things. But I'm sorry to tell you that if you want to be a successful author, you need to just shove that idea out of your head and say, writing is the primary focus of what I'm doing, but I'm an author and I'm building an author business. And therefore, to do that business, I need to think about the marketing and the strategy and all the pieces that come along with it. And I assure you, if you do these things and you establish yourself a good runway and a good foundation, eventually you will get to the point where you're not having to spend as much time and energy doing this. But it has to be a priority to you if you want to sell books. It just has to. Okay, so the types of launches. We're going to go through these quickly. Rapid release, passion project, traditional launch, and relaunch. I'm going to tell you that most of my strategy and most of my efforts are going to go into this traditional launch. There's a good reason why it takes time and energy and effort, and you will find this out in a second. So what do I mean by rapid release? Rapid release are for those of you actually who just want to write books. You can spend your time just writing books and use that as your primary marketing tool. That's not going to be the case for everybody. That's certainly not the case for me. It took me 5.5 years to finally write my first romantic comedy. Now it got faster. The second one is I'm at about the 1.5 year point on that one, and it will be released in October. um, I think. No, sorry, end of September. But some people's strategy, especially in the quick, I like to call them kind of quick books because there's a lot of people who can rapidly write and put out romance, rom-com, light reads of that nature, and they can do them really quickly. Ellie Hall, who will be on the podcast in a couple weeks, I believe, her episode goes out, publish a book a month. When she told me that, my brain almost exploded right out of my head. I just was blown away, but it's working for her. Look at these reviews. Look at the number of reviews she has on them. Now, part of our strategy that we're going to talk about later is using, or in Book Launch in a Box for sure, using that first book of a series as kind of your constant giveaway book. And as you can see, as she markets her backlist, all the other books, they are driving people back to get that first book, and she's using it as a free opportunity. So you can absolutely, as a fiction author, just double down and just write. That is one marketing strategy. It doesn't work for some genres. It will not work for children's picture books unless you are the fastest, have the fastest illustrator in the world. It will not work for many nonfiction genres. It will not work for some of us who are doing memoirs that take years to write. So this is a great strategy for, and it won't write for world builders, because I think those of you who write long fantasies, at least in the beginning, know you can't pump out a book a month, but maybe two a year, maybe one every year, and maybe you build slowly. Okay. Another one of my favorite rom-com authors is Emma St. Clair. Again, she does this rapid release. She was launching very quickly, one book a month. And you can see in her number of reviews and all of that it's working to drive more and more to build those readers who love her books. And she launches without a bunch of the other stuff. Now, there's also some specialty books that are rapid release. And what do I mean by this? Now, I just said nonfiction books don't often work, but there are cases when they do. Two books here. The first one by my very dear friend that we unfortunately lost 2 years ago, Dinner for a Dollar by Shelley Longenecker. She knew she wanted to build a business around teaching people how to eat clean on a budget. And so she was like, I'm not going to spend all my time building up an audience and doing all the things. I'm going to go ahead and publish my book and use that book as a tool to build the audience for my business. And it worked for her, and that was great. And then Sunshine After the Storm, it was actually my first book. And we had a very specific date that we wanted to get this book published. October 15th is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. Many of the stories and contributions are about pregnancy and infant loss. And that was a really good opportunity for us to make sure that people were seeing the book that they needed. And so we did a much faster time frame to get the book out so that it was available on time. Okay, then we have other, the Passion Project can also be a rapid release type thing. But the reason I say Passion Project is different is because the books before us, they're all built on a mission to build either a writing career or a business around whatever is happening, right? This is the type of book that you know that you just have in your heart to write. Maybe you have people in your community who know that you have something coming of this nature and want it. Maybe in Haley's case, she has a large community of people who come to her for things that aren't about books or writing, but she'd been working on these prayers and blessings, the invocations, and had been promising it to her community. So there was no fanfare, there was no buildup. We created the book, we got the cover, we got it all done, we loaded it, we published. Zero marketing other than her telling her community, my book is ready for you. So that's also an option if you're writing a book that is not about sales, that's not about building something else, and that will gauge all your timelines and all your marketing. And then, of course, there's the relaunch. The relaunch is a book that maybe didn't go so well the first time around, maybe wasn't seeing sales, maybe the cover wasn't great. Both of these books we worked on got new covers. They went through editing, they did some other things, and both of them came out the gate with a new book and started seeing sales that they had not seen before and reviews. This 325 ratings for Jodi Kane Smith was within a couple months of her relaunching this book. So a relaunch can be very effective, and you can decide, am I going to go all in and really create all this big environment of advanced readers and doing all the things like a first time launch, or am I just going to put it out there with a new cover, updated in, all the things, and see what happens. All right, then where I live as a publisher, as an author, as somebody who sees the value of taking the time to build audiences and do things right, is in the space of the traditional launch period. Generally, a traditional launch is going to take you 6+ months. You can do a quote unquote traditional launch in about 3 months, but really the more that you want to do with your launch, the more you want to see at the end of it, the more you want to build your community, all these things, you're going to need more time. And so we will, whoopsie, sorry about that. I hit my mouse and it went nuts. Okay, just a note on finding readers. We could talk for days again on this particular thing. I was at a conference this last weekend, and one of the marketing experts in her presentation was basically just like, you got to just get in front of the right readers. And that was pretty much all she said about that. And I'm like, I know the answer to this question, but as sitting there in the audience, I was thinking, but how? What does that even mean? How do I like how do I know? Well, I'm going to tell you that this is something we spend a lot of time digging into, because it's going to vary by genre. It's going to vary by so many things. But one of the biggest things that it comes down to is knowing your genre, knowing the type of people who read your books, and being a reader of your own genre and what you're doing on the fiction side in particular. The nonfiction folks, you have it a little bit easier, and to a degree, the children's book authors, because yes, your reader is children on children's books, but you know that the buyers are teachers, librarians, and parents. So that one's fairly easy. With nonfiction, it's pretty easy. If you're writing a book about yoga, beginning yoga, then your reader is going to be someone who wants to learn about beginning yoga. If you're writing a cookbook on autoimmune friendly recipes, that's your audience. So who is benefiting from your book? Who's going to want to read it? So if you're writing romance, you need to know, does my audience want clean? Does my audience want steamy? Does my audience want Christian? What are they doing? And then where are they talking about it? Where are they sharing? Are they on Goodreads? Are they all the different places? So it takes some time and energy and effort, but there are some wonderful tools out there that help you find them. NetGalley, Goodreads, podcasts, in-person events, things that are focused down on women who love to read romance books, etc. There's opportunities to do paid promos and promo stacking, which I will get into. Paid advertising, where you're literally sending ads to people who express an interest in XYZ, etc. Okay. All right. I flew through that piece, but this is because this is where I want to spend the time. I want to talk to you about, now that I've given you the big picture overview on what you need to be thinking about, some strategy behind it. So this is one of our books with Purple Butterfly Press. I absolutely adore not only this book, but the author, Antoinette Martin. She has done such a phenomenal job at getting out there, doing everything. She's also a young middle grade author, so she's got some experience being an author, but it's just been a joy. And with her book, we thought a lot about positioning. Obviously, if you're writing a children's, what does positioning means? It means putting it in the right places for the right buyers to find it, essentially. This comes down to your metadata, the keywords, the categories. It comes down to how your book is distributed. Is it available to libraries? Is it available to bookstores? It comes down to, did I say keywords and categories? Those types of things, and making sure that the book is made as in the forefront as possible to the right particular audiences. We focused on really getting in front of libraries and teachers on a big level. We focused on long-term media and audience growth. She still is doing media appearances and interviews. She goes to schools. She goes to local bookstores. She goes to local like stores where people up in New England go to buy souvenir shops and gift stores and things of that nature. We focused on building a large launch team and advanced readers so that we had people ready to share about the book. The downside to this is that you are going to be giving your book away for free to some people. The upside is the noise those people can create by posting pictures, videos, reviews, all of those is worth far more than the $3 you would earn in royalties from the sale of each book if you hadn't given it to them, if they'd even bought your book in the first place, right? Very aggressive on Instagram because we know there's a lot of teachers and moms on Instagram, and a lot of children's book reviewers. So did a lot there. There's a company called the Children's Book Review Tour. They offer amazing packages to help really get your word out. And I'll show you some of the things that they did. Editorial reviews, and more importantly, trade reviews. For children's picture books, where schools and libraries are are one of the main sources of sales, trade reviews are critical. And this is for anybody who wants a book in a library. Not all libraries focus on this, and you'll have to speak to your local libraries to find out what they want to see. But a lot of them have constrictions on buying if there's no trade reviews associated with the book. That means a third-party entity like Kirkus or Clarion or Publishers Weekly or other places like that have done a trade review. As indie authors, it's harder to get traditional reviews of that nature, but they almost all have paid campaigns and you can get great reviews through them, but that's something you need to consider for your budget. If you're a romance writer and you plan on doing rapid release on Amazon, I would save that money for something else because you don't necessarily need a trade review for your audience who's eating up your books in other places. I'm part of the Independent Book Publishers Association, and they offer e-blast to librarians and retailers, so we participated in that. We do Goodreads giveaway with all of our books. If you're not familiar with Goodreads, you need to become familiar with it ASAP. And then using influencers and doing different book tours, like through Love Book Tours and other places like that, to just really create a whole lot of noise before the book launch. And her launch was very successful. We had a lot of activity around her book. The book is still selling, and we're very happy with that. And NetGalley, I'll talk a lot more about in a minute. So these are some examples of book tours that can happen with you and what they do. This one was the Children's Book Review. They go out and we pay them money, and then they go out and they find people who are going to review on their blogs and in other places. And getting any kind of information that has links to your book, has the book's title, all of that on the internet is good. It helps build up the Google juice and all kinds of things so that when people are looking for children's picture books of this nature, hopefully yours is popping up in different things. It also brings a whole new audience of people. Some of these people have large audiences, some of them don't. It doesn't matter. We were thrilled to death to have all these people posting blog posts, interviews, information, and reviews on their websites. They also can do a big giveaway. So with our children's picture books, we like to always do a classroom set. We think that's a great way to get our book into a lot of hands and create some excitement. So we do that. And then we also gave away 5 individual copies. Okay, I mentioned some of the other tools, putting it in Goodreads. I'm putting it on an e-blast to librarians. So the picture on the left is what it looked like in the article or the email that went out to all of the different librarians. It gives the key information about the book, gives the ISBNs, where they can order it through, which is really important that they are able to go to the places where they order books. And then the right side is the Goodreads page where people can leave their reviews on books and share and put them on their to read list and it's a fun social site for readers, for people who just love books. So that's good. And then I told you about NetGalley. NetGalley is an expensive tool, but it's a great tool. And there are lots of places that you can get discounts and ways to get on here. But it's a great one because you get your book out in front of readers and in front of librarians and in front of retailers. And if you see this, what a sweet story. I'm a pre-K teacher and you could use this story during our family theme. By the way, there's a lot of things that happen in these types of reviews that you can use in your marketing. Tamara, a pre-K teacher, said this is a great for a family theme book or, whatever they're using. So all of these reviews can be used, of course, if they're good reviews in your book marketing effort. You can take these, put them in fun slides, get them out into the world. And then, of course, we did a Kirkus review. This book was actually a republication. She had published it years ago and wanted to update it. So that's why there says an enjoyable revision of an endearing story. Kirkus, it's hard to tell. People ask all the time, is there a return on investment? Well, if you get picked up and featured in their magazine, definitely. If you get picked up for a starred review, definitely. But even if you just have a great, if you're trying to get into libraries, most definitely, because then you have that associated trade review. And then it's a great marketing tool as well when you have a good review. All right, switching to a whole nother genre here, we have a memoir written by a woman who lost her infant daughter, and she wrote the book Layla Held for a Moment. Now Leah is, we did a lot of the same types of things, but obviously very different topic, very different group we're looking at. Still mothers, a different kind of mother, all right? Still, and so we really focused, because I have started mine with grief and loss. I already have a large list of people who write about, talk about, and all those things about grief. So we reached out to them. We reached out to some new folks. We got the ARC copies into hands. She reached out to people to do blurbs and on her praises page, grief groups, bloggers, and we really wanted to make sure that we were also positioning the book in all the places that we could, NetGalley, BookFunnel, all of those, of course, editorial submissions. And she also pitched articles to different media centers, media sites. So we also did a lot of marketing in the month of October, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And she is a speaker. So she goes out and she speaks to group. And honestly, if you have a book, a nonfiction book, where you are able to go out and speak to associations, to conferences, to things of that nature, and you sometimes you can work into your speaking fee that they purchase a copy of the book for everyone in attendance, or sometimes they'll allow you to sell the book at the back. But this is a great way to connect with new audiences and sell books. All right, another nonfiction, brainstorming your novel. This one is fun because it is 4 authors by Linda Needham. And her window was much shorter, but she had a very specific launch strategy. She wanted it done and ready to be on sale so that she could put it up for sale during the Women in Publishing Summit, not this year, but the year before. And that was a big part of her marketing thing, because she knew, hey, I'm going to be with a lot of women who are writers. What a great time for me to, and a place for me. But she connected with her target audience through personal connections, reaching out to authors and authors groups. She posted on her Facebook page. She created awareness through different Facebook groups that she's a part of. She worked really hard on growing her Instagram site. She also did the Kirkus review, lots of ARCs, and then she launched the book during the summit. So we were able to help her promote that book, and it did really well. She's also using her book as the source to do some workshops so that she can get out and share with everyone and sell her book as part of workshops. And as you can see, she was able to get this romance fiction writing reference up at the top on her first day of sale because of all of our folks. All right, now, as we shift gears just a little bit here, there's a lot of stuff, obviously, as you can see from that, that's in the build up to launch, all the activities, and why do you need to do all that stuff in the beginning? Well, people want to hear, when it comes to more traditional approaches, people want to hear about new books. If you're looking for places to market your book boxes, influencers, all those types of things, they want to be talking about new books. They don't necessarily, they will, people will still review books that have been out there for a while. But if you're really getting into like the trade reviews, editorial reviews in magazines and online sites and all that kind of stuff, they want to be talking about what's up and coming, not what's already passed. So there's a very key window of time for you to really build a lot of excitement around your new book. And so that's why a lot of pre-launch stuff happens, and it also helps you market your book and sell your book more if you've built a team of people who are going to leave reviews and talk about your book, so that when you're launching or when you're marketing after launch, you're not sending people to a sales page that has 0 reviews. Reviews are very important on Amazon or elsewhere. People will buy or not buy because there are or aren't reviews, or there are good reviews and or bad reviews. So that's a critical piece, is finding the people who are willing to talk about your book and especially review it. But as you move into the actual launch, and then you think about what can happen afterwards, there's also a lot of fun things that can happen. Now, full disclosure, this is my first rom-com. I write under a pen name, but I think it's a great little example because I knew what to do, but I didn't have the time to do all the things that I would tell you to do and that I teach people to do. So I picked the most impactful and effective things from our strategy, and I built as much as I could in a short window, and then moved on to doing more post-launch stuff. So one of the things I never, ever, ever launch a book without doing is building some sort of an ARC team. You just need those advanced readers. That's an advanced reader team. They get a copy of your book when it's finalized or an unfinished proof, but basically ready to go. And they get a copy, either print or ebook, and are the ones who are going to read ahead of time and are going to go to all those places and leave reviews for you. We also do influencer and reviewer campaigns. We love to use Love Book Tours. They do a great job with the paid Instagram tours. I put it on NetGalley. We do Goodreads giveaways, and I'll show you some of these things in a minute. Lots of Instagram engagement, and then post-launch, I love, 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 and we're going to spend some time here talking about paid promos, promo stacking, using paid promo lists, all these types of things, dropping your price, and do all of these fun things. And then using now the second book on pre-order to market both of them. I just love the stuff that happens on Instagram. I'm a very visual person. I love Instagram. Okay. It's one of my favorite places to be, but I don't have time to be on Instagram all the time. So instead of me getting out there and creating all kinds of content, I like to use other people who love to create fun things and put them out there and then use those in my marketing. So this is just a snapshot. I use the hashtag 4 days in Paris, and 4 days in Paris, the book. And when you follow a hashtag like that, this is a screenshot of the posts that come up on that hashtag in there or around my launch time. So just fun things happening. And then Love Book Tours, they go out and they do the work of pulling together everybody, and those folks go out there and market the mess out of your book. And it's just wonderful. It was so much fun in the days right after my launch, seeing all these posts and reading all the reviews and just having a blast. This to me is the most fun part of marketing. May not be fun to you. Maybe something else is really fun, but I loved this part about it. I focused my Instagram time on connecting with readers. And how did I do that? I actually followed other authors who write in the same genre, and I looked at who was following them, and I looked at who was reviewing their books, and I followed those folks and created relationships that way. And in 3 months, grew the account to over 1,000 followers. And then the Love Book Tours really helped rocket that up as well. All right, I wanted to share a little bit more about NetGalley because there's something that you need to be aware of with NetGalley. NetGalley reviewers are hardcore. They are not just going to plop a 5-star book on anything, even if they liked it, right? So if you notice, most of these are 4-star reviews. And when we look at my Goodreads page, you'll see that the rating is significantly lower than what you want on Amazon, which is 4.5 to 5 stars, right? That's not how it necessarily works on Goodreads or NetGalley, because a 3 is a good book, a 4 is an excellent book, and a 5 is, I'm going to tell everybody in the world I know about this book. Or like the first one, super good story, excellent writing, an author I definitely want more from. So that's somebody who's going to give a 5-star. But look at this one. It's a 3-star review, which for most of us would be like heartbreaking. But her last statement is, overall, I really enjoyed it and I loved this book. So if you're going to use NetGalley, just be aware that sometimes you're not going to get the star ratings that you want, but you can still get some great reviews that you can use in your social media. And a review is a review. It's going to help people. And if people actually read the review, because I usually read bad reviews over the original one. So if I read this one, I'd be like, okay, well, she liked it. She's just a tough reviewer. And you can see on the activity on Goodreads, it's got 162 ratings and 88 reviews. And again, you know, we don't love seeing under 5-star because we've been conditioned that 5-star is where it's at, but it's clearly not stopping people from reading, rating, and reviewing. And there's some great reviews in those 4 stars. So just keep that in mind. Now, I talked about doing the giveaways. Giveaways are a great way for you to get more visibility. And without trying to explain how Goodreads works, I'm just going to break it down to this. If you do a giveaway, basically blast your book out in front of people's communities every time somebody adds it to their shelf. So you have the opportunity to get more and more attraction by people entering in the giveaway. So we had our book was added to 2,930 want to read shelves and 3,097. This is how people categorize the books. And then as they're going through and looking for their next read, they go to their shelf and they say, oh yeah, I wanted to read this one, or I'm putting this one on my next read, or my favorite rom-com, or whatever. So we'll do a Goodreads giveaway, and we'll give away 5 to 10 books. And this is a great way for you to send a signed edition with a nice little note and connect with readers. Great way to get in front of readers if you're looking for that. So in your post-launch strategy, you're really looking at visibility, getting out there more. And visibility does not mean you on camera, if that's what you're worried about. It doesn't mean posting selfies of yourself. It means making your book visible. And sometimes that requires you to be visible too, but there's a lot of ways to do it without that. It's about finding those readers through some of the tools that we've told you and other means that I've told you about and other means. It's about leveraging other people's audiences. You don't have to do all the work yourself. There are lots of people who've already built companies, built email lists, built communities around readers that want your book. Think BookBub, think Written Word Media, all these places that have opportunities for you to get your book in front of the readers who have said, I want rom-coms, I want children's picture books, I want memoirs. Use those. They cost a little bit of money, but it's worth it because you don't have to go find 50,000 people that want to read a memoir. You've got an email list provider that will send that for you. Writing more books or growing your business around your book is hands down one of the best things that you can do to market yourself. One of the things that they said at the Publishing University conference I just came back to was the backlist is where it's at for most authors. That means the books you've already written, and their life isn't over once you publish a new book. Their life just keeps getting regenerated if you're doing your marketing well. And that's where authors are making the most money. They have a backlist, and when they publish a new book, other people are finding their other books and they have a high read through rate. Or they have a business associated with their book. And when people find their book, they get speaking engagements, or they come and join their coaching program, or do all these other types of things. But there has to be something more than just publishing one book and putting it out there and doing some social media marketing and running a couple of ads. Those are fine things. But if they're not leading you towards something bigger and more, whatever that is, and I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of ways to do it. Again, if you have a plan and a strategy and you're positioning your book properly and you're doing those things, there's lots of ways to build super fans and to continue to sell your books. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, why did I put this slide in here? Okay, so I wanted to show you some of the results of post-launch marketing. So one of my favorite things, and we're going to talk for a few minutes here on paid promos. Some people do stacked promos. So let me define quickly. A paid promo is using a tool like Fussy Librarian, Written Word Media. There's tons of them out there. Kindlepreneur has a great article on all the paid promo lists that you can Google and find. But basically, their job is to curate readers. And then your job is to pay that person and to put your book on discount or free or whatever, and to have them email their list, and their list gets an email that says, here's all the romantic comedies, here's all the romance books, here's all the whatever that are free today, or 99 cents today, or $2.99, or whatever it is. And then that's a paid promo. Now, a promo stacking means that you are doing that with multiple lists. I personally don't like to stack. I like to do one at a time because I like to see where my return on investment is. So I'll do one week and one the next week or whatever, so I can see how many downloads came from this company versus this company. However, I'm going to show you some slides that may make you think I have done a stacked one before, and it was very exciting. We had like 8,000 downloads of one book on one day, but we didn't know where they came from. So when it came to deciding which ones we use again or not, we had no differentiation there. So this is one that I did in February, around Valentine's Day of February 2023. And I did this through Written Word Media, and I had almost 3,000 copies of the book downloaded. So that's great, right? And you're thinking, All right, Alexa, but you just got 3,000 free downloads. True. But what happens when your book is on Kindle Unlimited is that one, everything else balloons out of this. I only have one book at the I'm sorry, this actually was, I'll tell you about my this was right before we, or right when I put the second book on pre-order. So I saw a bunch of trickle down things. I saw an increase in my pre-orders of book 2. I got page reads, and you get paid for page reads in Kindle Unlimited. I got my reviews like increased dramatically. So yes, to me, it was worth the $100 that I paid for that, for those things to happen, even if I didn't make $100 back. But then you can see over the course of 2024, I've had 10,327 page reads, which isn't awesome, but those are page reads that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't done the promo. And you can see here again, these numbers are not astonishing. I mean, clearly I am not a billionaire off of my one single rom-com there. However, I know that when I publish the second book and the third book and all of those, and I'm going to show you an example of this in a minute, these things are going to continue to grow. So at this point in time, at least I made back almost the full cost of the campaign by the end of the day. So that's not terrible. And it will continue to grow as we get more people in and reading, etc. Okay, so I want to feature some of our other book launch in a box students, attendees, whatever you want to call them. I asked them to send over some of their results. I think it's important for you all to see results of what's actually happening. So Casey Kennedy did a paid and free promotion. She now has 5 books in her series. And this slide, y'all, I know there's so much good information on here. Don't try to consume it all right now. You can look at it when I send out the slides. I love this slide. Casey, thank you very much for this, but there's a lot to look at and try and take in a minute. But here's what I want to highlight to you. Look at the release down here. I don't know if you can see my mouse down here or not, but down at the bottom where you see book 2 release, and then you see where she does the promos and the big jumps. So she lists out who she did the paid promo with, how much it cost, and what the results were. So she paid $110 through Free Booksy. And then she used Romance Bookworms, which was free. And look at that. Look at all those downloads. And same thing, book 4 release. Nothing super exciting, but every time she did a release, there wasn't a huge amount of sales, but then she did these promos and she had these giant jumps in here. And this is really interesting. As you get down to it, you can see that as she did these continuously and adding on to it, she also used Kindle countdown deals, and she sold 73 books at price, or at the adjusted rate. So the Kindle countdown allows the book to gradually increase in price. And she sold 73 books doing that. And then she's also had 33 regular price books sold after this last one. So it does work. And now she has all of these books, and every time she runs a promo, her backlist is going to continue to see sales as people come in. So she's sold 36,478. Well, she's had that many downloads. 98% of her books have been for free, 2% paid. Okay, that to some of you may feel like a loss. However, this is a long game, and she's building readers, she's building reviewers. This will continue to grow. And Alessandra Torre showed us a slide that was similar to this at the Women in Publishing Summit about how much her income started increasing as the backlist grew, and as when people found a book, they would go back and buy the others. Don't despair if you don't have a backlist or other books, because there are plenty of ways to do this. I showed you, I'm still seeing success from one book. There's lots of other ways that you can promote and do books even with one book, but you have to find the right marketing strategy for what's going to work. And Casey's biggest takeaway from Book Launch in a Box was that visibility is key, and you cannot rely on people to just randomly discover your book. And that is so true. I have a pretty big audience. How many of you, well, some of you in my inner circles knew, but how many of you knew that I'd written a rom-com or what the name of it is? So, you have to be marketing that book. And I, write under a pen name, so that's okay. All right, next case study we want to look at. Ooh, I'm running out of time. Michelle Ishrek-Dale. She did a stack. So she did a 5-day free promo, and her results were really exciting. Again, a series. So for those of you who are thinking about series, I want you to get excited about what can come. If you don't have a series or not planning on doing a series, again, you can still see wonderful results from doing a paid promo list, even just one book. It's just not going to be the same on the back end. And there are other ways that you can achieve sales as well. Okay, so she's had over 46,000 page reads in 2 weeks, which paid for the cost of her promo. The book achieved #1 in one category and was top 3 in 2 other categories and stayed the whole week. Now I'm going to tell you, I am not a big fan of like Amazon bestseller campaigns. However, when you're at the top of a category and when you're at the top, even in the top 10, top 25, top 50, you get more organic, you're at the top of the list when people come in and say, good book on love and friendship. So it's not necessarily important that you're #1 bestseller, or what is important is that you're at the top of the sales and that you're going to be brought up higher in search results when people are looking for that type of book. So it is important to do the things to move your book up and to have it in the top 10, even 100, depending on your genre. It can even be successful much higher than that, or in those ranges as well. Here's the key. Her ratings and reviews doubled on Goodreads and Amazon in the month after the promo. So that's huge. Every time somebody leaves a review on Goodreads, everybody that follows them is notified. So you're talking about just like built-in marketing for your book. And even though it was a free promo, she made back her money and saw profit starting in week 3. Okay. So this is kind of like a combo on finding readers and making more money, right? So that's post launch where the things really start to come gelling together. And you can see her her page here, her lovely screenshot hitting #1, which you should always screenshot this. This is the money shot. Of course, in Canadian dollars, but $583.54 in that window of time, which is just phenomenal. She really changed the trajectory of her book by doing this. And there's those page reads. Her biggest takeaway from Book Launch in a Box was that without a launch plan, your books are basically dead in the water. That you have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy. You need to be thinking about what you're going to be doing, whether it is a one-book publication, a picture book, or a memoir, or whether you're launching series or other genres. Really quickly, Elizabeth Ducey, one of our cozy mystery authors, keep hitting that mouse, also did a stacked promo, and she did her promo for books 1 and 2 in her series. She had over 8,000 downloads of book 1, great sales on book 2, and doubled her pre-orders of book 3, but most significantly, 10 times the page reads in the first month and still up to 3 times later. Her biggest takeaway: concentrate on a small range of tools. Don't try to do everything, but have trying to like I was saying, don't try to do it all in a short amount of time. Do it well. Okay, really quickly, I need to get through here, but again, another example, Elizabeth Barber in our focused on social media marketing, finding advanced readers, submissions to trade reviews, book awards. She got a great review from Midwest. She also won self-help category. These things all matter, and these things should be part of your marketing strategy. Getting those book awards, getting those trade reviews, and she uses email marketing. So that's an important piece. I talk a lot about growing email lists and the importance of using that email list in pretty much everything that we do. And she also had launch parties. Important to her was designing a marketing plan from Book Launch in a Box, designing a marketing plan that fits your strengths. Okay. The common thing here, whether you're looking at building an audience before launch, whether you're looking at having a big launch, or whether you're looking at success after the fact. And I can tell you that no matter what genre, no matter whether it's a standalone book or a series of books, all the things, these top things are across the board essential. Obviously, getting in front of readers, positioning the book well for buyers, which there is sometimes a difference if the buyer is not the same person as the reader, i.e. librarians, i.e. bookstores, i.e. parents. increasing your visibility. And then as you move through launch, using those paid tools to do paid promos or promo stacking, other types. We've not even touched the surface on the types of advertising and marketing that are available to you to do. So there's so many things that can be happening after launch. And then publishing more books, or creating those programs, creating those speaking engagements, coaching programs, whatever it is. If you're a nonfiction author or trying to build a business, perhaps even around skills within the publishing industry, could also be something that you're doing. But the backlist is where the real money making happens. So marketing is not a marathon. It's a marathon. It is a marathon, not a sprint. It does not stop at launch. And those key consistent actions backed up by your solid strategy and plan are going to render the results that you're looking for. Don't just throw spaghetti at the wall and say, well, somebody told me. I love this. I hear this all the time. Somebody told me I should do this. Somebody told me I should do this. Somebody told me, and there's no plan to it. They're just like, oh, I heard this person sold 1 million books because they ran a Facebook ad. And so I'm going to all of a sudden try to do Facebook ads. Well, Facebook ads are phenomenal if you know what you're doing and if you have the right things to send them to, but there's strategy behind it. Maybe it's not the best option for you. So when you're thinking about marketing and how to spend money, don't just like pick something because somebody said that it worked for them. Dig into it, find out if it's going to work for you, if it's a right tool, if it's the right investment, all of those types of things. And how do you know that? You know that by learning about marketing, by working with experts, by studying it however you want to, and by implementing things in small, consistent orders that are based on some sort of a plan. All right, I'm going to share some testimonials and I'm going to talk to you about book launch in a box. I will answer questions in a moment, but again, this is a 6-month program we're about to launch because I cannot tell you all the things and I cannot answer all the questions. It's just impossible. But I do have a container to help you do this. And we've been running it for years and we know it works. And I showed you some of the results from some of our people. But this one I just literally saw on Instagram like a day or two ago. And it made my heart so happy because Emily Storm Smith, who's one of my favorite people from the OG, the first year we ran Book Launch in a Box, they're all my favorite, but she just hit her 10,000 books sold mark and shouted me out, which made me feel so good. And when I saw that, I mean, of course I would have shared her post anyway, but what a great moment for us to see that we're doing works and what we're teaching works. And thank you, Emily. Very excited about her book and her second book as well. So this is a funny page, but I really would like to know if people in here want to talk about Book Launch in a Box. If nobody's interested in at all, then there's no point in going through it. But okay, I got at least 2 yeses. So for me, that's enough to go on and do it because I don't want to go on if people don't want to hear about it. So Book Launch in a Box, 6-month program. And we created a series of 6 modules, which I believe is going to expand to 8 this year. I'm not sure if I need to create new modules or just add them in anyway. That's behind the scenes stuff. But it is from thinking far out in advance to we start right off with positioning and how you know where in the marketplace your book fits and how you make sure it's showing up in the right places all the way to post launch. And we include every element in there. We talk about the positioning, the trade reviews, getting in front of librarians, all the things you need to have done well before your book is ready to get out there, growing your launch team, setting up your launch stuff, all the stuff that goes along with the actual launch to then post-launch things that are happening through PR, marketing, growing your visibility, and continuing on and on and on and on. We have a lot of fun bonuses that'll help you with your social media, that will help you do your comp title research, that'll help you with your marketing, calendars, tools, workbooks, worksheets. I mean, the whole thing. A lot of our content, the training and worksheets and all of those things are pre-recorded training. I am going in and updating the training. There's a lot of things that change. So I'm adding new content this year, including going really deep dive into the paid promo and promo stackings and including more information on that. Of course, relaunch is always this is all you do is you follow the process and you just do it again with the book you already published. So, and you can pick and choose. Like, you don't have to do everything in my marketing strategy that I suggest that you do, but we've got plenty of people who've gone through relaunch and they just go back and pick up the pieces that they left off in their initial launch. A relaunch may include a refreshing of the book, for example, but that's as great tools for you to do that. I love this program. I'm not gonna, this is an intense program if you want it to be, or it's at your own pace. There is no timeline to when you have to complete it. Now, what there is a timeline on is during this 6-month window, we have a schedule that we recommend you watch this presentation and then you come to the Q&A session that's related to that and the implementation session related to that, because I don't want this to just be a thing that resides someplace on your computer that you never do anything with. So you get the training, you watch the training, you come and you ask about the training, and then you hang out and we implement together and have accountability sessions. And that goes on for about the content drops over 3 months, and then we have 3 additional months of Q&A and all of that stuff. There's no timeline on when you have to finish it. And in fact, we invite our previous year's alumni back each year to the next year's Q&A sessions, because it may take you all that time to go through the process, and we want to make sure that you're able to go through it. So who this is not for. If you're a rapid launcher, there's some things that you could use from this, but most of it is not going to, you're writing books, you're publishing. If you're already seeing high sales, you don't need me. Maybe you could come talk to me about being an expert in the program. We have several very good experts on, we have Pam Shepard, who is an expert on positioning and comp titles and log lines and hooks. And she works with our people to make sure that their descriptions and their hooks and their log lines and all those things are great. We've got 2 PR specialists who come in and talk about post-launch things. We're bringing in new folks this year too. Anyway, if you want to hire a full service marketing company, if you don't want to do the work, this is not for you. If you don't have any time. Now, again, you can watch the training on your own on your own time. We really hope that you'll be able to come to the live Q&A sessions, but they're recorded, so you can watch those later if you want to too. But if you know you're not going to touch this thing, don't spend the money on it, please. If you're not willing to do a little bit of work, learn new tools, be willing to use technology, this isn't for you. However, the ones we want to have are people who are excited about doing better with books they've already launched, doing better with the next book in their series. We've had plenty of people. Shoot, Linda Needham came through our program. She had already published like 30 books or 18 something. I don't know. It's a lot. But this was her first nonfiction. And she wanted, and it was also her first as an indie author. She'd always been traditionally published. So, all of these types of things are, hey, Pam. So, this is you. If you have the time that you're willing to learn, and again, you don't have to learn it all in the 6 months. You can learn it at your time and attend the Q&A sessions and the accountability sessions, implementation, all of that stuff, and then do your work and come back and rejoin us next June in the Q&A sessions again. Well, there you go, Carrie Lynn. Make sure you hop back into the Q&A this year. Be willing to do some work. I'm a very transparent person on this stuff. And I can tell you right now, if you're not willing to work hard, you are not going to see the results, period. And I don't mean, it's not a slave driver. People are like, how many hours a day do I need to dedicate to this? In all honesty, if you are really, really trying to do the work and build up, I would recommend that you start committing an hour a day of your life to book marketing through the business week. And if that's not possible, then maybe you do one day or fit it in how you can, but you've got to put in some elbow grease and do the work. If you have big goals, we're here for you all the way, because we do too. And if you want to have fun and hang out with me and hang out with Pam and Raywin and our entire crew, Kay is one of our accountability coaches. We have a good time together. All right. Amy, another one of our testimonials. I've got testimonials sprinkled through here because I think it's important for you to see what other people got from this, not just what I have to say. All things marketing strategies. She didn't know what to do. She got a step-by-step guide and she got started going. All right, so what's in the program? I've told you some of the things. I want to dig a little deeper. So we used to include this just as a bonus. Now, book launch in a box, the basics, I'm rolling it into the overall course. And it's basically when we started the module one, we made an assumption that our authors were looking for people a little bit that were had been doing this for a little while. So we assumed that you would have social media, a website, all those types of things. Well, we assumed wrong, and there are some folks that come into the program that are starting from scratch. So this is kind of like a pre-work, several modules in here that are all about your website, identifying your target reader, doing some work on figuring out who's going to be reading your book and why, social media basics. We've got some basics on Instagram, TikTok. We're not going to like teach you everything in the world about it, but the basics so that you have enough to get started. Finding advanced readers and thinking about that. So kind of creating that baseline foundation comes in the module that is the basics. Then we go into fundamental one, which is positioning your book. And I have a little bit of education on this piece. I've got some stuff from the publisher side, but our superstar really is Pam Shepard, who has, I don't know how many years experience in the industry. She was a lot. She's an expert at what she does. Not only she's sold to bookstores and retailers for years and years and years in the traditional market. She has walked the walk, talked the talk, done all the things, has so much knowledge, and is just an incredible resource in our program. And I'm not just saying that because I know she's in here yet. I would have said that anyway. And she's got some bonus sessions in here too on positioning your book in the marketplace, doing your comp title research, which is very important part of the process. And we see a lot of people who are like, I would have never even thought about doing that. And it's made a big difference in my entire marketing strategy. And she's amazing and very engaged. Okay, another testimonial. This is her real name is Erica, but her pen name is Zariah L. Banks. And we got to meet last year at a conference. It was so exciting to see her. And she said that the book launch in a box was essential in helping her prepare the launch of her debut novel, Beauty Beheld. Easy to navigate modules, convenient worksheets, made her life much easier in the marketing process. Fundamental two. This, we get into creating buzz with retailers and libraries early in the process. This is a module that you may decide to take, or you may decide that you're not following some of these things, and that's okay, because with indie authors, you may focus your efforts on Amazon. And you know what? That is fully okay, because I heard the president and the CEO of IBPA this last weekend say that even with traditional publishing houses, the large majority of sales are coming from Amazon. So it's okay if that's where you're focusing. But some of you have books that are going to do better in libraries, or libraries are a wonderful market you should try to get into. Some of you are going to want to be in the Barnes and Noble and other stores. So there are things that have to happen in a certain time, and certain critical elements that you have to have, like a PCIP block, like all these things that you might not have ever even known about that need to happen far in advance if this is going to be a key element for part of your launch. So we've got things on here to do that. Christina loved guidance and support. She loved manageable goals. She loved all the information on growing her email list and Instagram account. And she loved being together in a room and being able to support other authors. Working together is a key part of this as well. Fundamental three, creating buzz, this time with consumer reviews, your launch team. Now we're looking at readers. We're getting outside of the people who buy and sell books, and we're getting into the people who read them. So all the things that you need to do to get ready for that launch and to just blow it out of the water. And we've got some bonuses here as well. Marilyn says she was worried, she was unsure, but she decided to join, and she was so glad she was. She wouldn't waver if she was in the making the decision now. And we're so happy to have that feedback from her. So fundamental four, messaging. Messaging covers a lot of things. We bring Pam back in to talk about your hooks, your log lines, descriptions, all those things that are so important. This piece is critical. Then we've got in content strategy workshop. What are you doing to grow your content? All of those types of things. All right. Another review from Emily. I already showed her post, but she was a great one of our students, attendees, and is doing wonderful. Fundamental five, we start moving into post-launch. We start looking at expanding your reach, using more of your social media, doing all the things to get more out there. Pat Blackgold, one of our authors, doesn't matter where you are in the process of publishing your book, you'll receive the help you need to move along on your journey, and you'll have fun in the process. On that note, we do prefer that people start earlier in the process. I love it when people come in a year, 6 months to a year out, but you can start a little bit later, and that's fine. And then Fundamental Six is all about visibility. So we've got some bonuses from our guest speakers. I have two PR experts, April Pertwee and Chrissy Bernal, both of them providing some wonderful things on PR, publicity, media, all of those things. And we've got a whole bunch of other things. This is where you'll find the paid promo stuff, post-launch marketing and visibility, and really getting out in front of people. Kim is a fun one because she's been using TikTok and really doing well with it, but she came in late in the process. She was only a month out, did as much as she could, and she actually really rocked her launch, and we were very excited to see that. Some of our other covers. Okay. The question you really want to know is how much does it cost, right? We've talked about when and what it is. This is a big program. I pay experts to come in. We have a lot of people who help in this process, and it's a lot of knowledge. So it's not inexpensive. And that's all I'm going to say on that. There are opportunities for you to save some money. Like if you decide to join us between now and the 9th, you can use the coupon code Alexa200 and save $200 and hop right on in. When will you be getting things starting? We start in June. Our first kickoff call is, I think, on a Thursday, June 20th, and then the content will come out in June as well. And you'll receive a schedule of when we're meeting and all those types of things. But we're in early bird right now. We'd love to help you save some money by jumping in with that $200 off coupon. So no expiration date to the content, live Q&A sessions. There will be accountability sessions. We bring in guest speakers and guest trainers. We have expert training from our PR folks, from Pam, from other folks. And the best part is that next year, if you didn't get through all the content, you don't have to buy the program again. You can just come back to the Q&As and the accountability things. So module 5 is expanding your reach. So getting out in front of other places and spaces, and the paid promo workshops come in this part, not in the visibility section. Is more on PR marketing, all those types of things. Okay. Ooh, it covers a lot of stuff, y'all. It's by the end of it, you will have a marketing strategy. We have worksheets. We have all kinds of stuff to help you identify your place in the market, all the things, comp titles, and really dig in there. All right. I am going to go in and answer some questions here. So Linda says, yes to beta readers, how to find your target audience. I'm pretty sure I answered that one. Kim says, if you don't have a series, only a labor of love, single titles, 2 romantic history novels written for over 20 years, also 77. Okay, so in this case, what you do, Kim, is you just have to put all your efforts behind marketing the books that you have. So finding opportunities, you can only run so many paid promos, right? But you can run them multiple times. If you find a place that has a good historical fiction list, you can run them every quarter, which will continue to bring new people in there, do things of that nature. But I would also encourage you to find places like podcasts, if you're able to do that, where you can get in front of readers, or even in your case, it may come down to simply running ads. Running low budget ads targeted to the right audience, but with ads, you want to make sure that they're set up really well for you. But ads can be a great thing, but you have to make sure that you're making your money back from the ads. In the beginning, it might be a little higher than other things. Growing your email list, and marketing your books through your email list, finding book clubs, doing the giveaways on Goodreads, even still handing out free copies of your book in exchange for people talking about them or recommending them to book clubs. There are a lot of ways you can still market a single book or a double book. It just takes a little more effort to get to seeing big things because you don't have other books that are driving book sales. And also, it's okay to be an author that has a couple great books who are bringing in some money, but you're not making your entire living off of your royalties. And I know we would love to get to the point where that's at. I know first and foremost, we want to at least make the money that we invest in the books back, but sometimes we're not set up in a position to be authors that are making a full living off of it. How did the rapid release books get discovered and have so many reviews? Well, in the beginning, their first books did not. I've known Emma St. Clair for a long, long time, and I can tell you back in the beginning, she was not getting that. What she did was each book continues to build the community. They use the list, they use ARC teams, they use social media, they use just their super fans to help them promote their books and get them out there. And then when you release another book, then people go and they find you and they follow you, or they buy your book and they see your other books and they go back and they read from the beginning. So with Ellie, she keeps her first one free for people, and she directs people back to that first book. And so everybody, whether they came in at book 7 or a different series or whatever, gets directed back to that first book. So that's one of the ways that you do it, where you just keep pushing back to a first book in a series or something of that nature. Is there a best time of year or month to do a book launch? That depends on what you have going on in your life. I can tell you there's a worse time of year to do a book launch, and that is October to December every year, because there's just so many things being marketed, unless you have a specific reason. As I mentioned, I launched in October. Actually, you can get away with October, but November, December, and early January are just a nightmare because it's very, very noisy in the marketing world, and a lot of things happening. But in terms of doing the other book launch these days, it's I would try to avoid launching at the same time as somebody super famous if you're trying to do really well in the same category that they would. But other than that, nope. Can you talk about how Goodreads can benefit the author? I can, but not in a short amount of time. Well, briefly, it's a social sharing place for readers. So people who love books have followers, they share books with their friends, they recommend books, etc. So when your book is out there, people can add it to a shelf, other people see it like it shows up in their feed. So if I have a friend on Goodreads and she adds a new book and I'm looking at that, I see that. Back in the day, we used to, and the hardcore ones are always like telling each other, oh, go read this, or I reviewed this book on Goodreads or whatever. Some people follow each other's lists. Like, it's a place where people go when they're looking for books. So if your book is popular, if people are adding it to shelves, et cetera, then people find you that way. What do you mean by earned media? Earned media means you don't have to pay for it. So let's say you pitch a media station to tell your story and to go out and be on the news or something. That's earned media. Or let's say you have an article or you get interviewed someplace. If it's otherwise, that's earned media. How do you get an email list of librarians? Well, you can either go do the research on your own, literally going through and finding all the libraries and looking up their information and calling or doing all of that, or you can pay for them, or you can use companies that send books out to librarians, and then you get the email lists of people who requested your book. There's lots of different ways. How does NetGalley compare to Book Sirens? There's no comparison. Book Sirens is a great tool for fiction writers, largely like YA, fantasy, some of those genres, some other fiction as well, and they're growing. But at this point in time, they do not have near the same reach as NetGalley does, near the same amount of people using it. Book Sirens is also almost all readers. There may be some librarians but probably not a whole lot of booksellers unless they just read for passion on there. And it's Book Sirens is a lot less expensive, and we like Book Sirens and we use them. I'm not at all playing it down, but when you compare them side by side, I mean, NetGalley's the monolith over here, and Book Sirens is much smaller but growing and a great tool. We really like working with them. Can you please elaborate what is an editorial release article? I'm sorry, that was editorials slash articles. So she sent out editorial things like interviews, reviews, all that kind of stuff on the editorial side of the newspaper, seeing if she could get picked up for things. And then she also submitted articles. So she wrote articles to submit to those places. Do you have the URL for signing up for Book Launch in a Box? It's the link that Raywin just posted. But this is going to be a very dedicated, very focused, very strategic from A to Z, soup to nuts, all the things marketing program. And we're very excited to welcome in our new cohort. Okay, thank you all. I hope you got a lot out of this presentation. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and we will definitely be sending out the replay. It may be tomorrow since it's already 4:30, but I will get out the information as much as I can. I mean, as quickly as I can. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.